You might assume that a couple of weeks off the gym, tracking your food, sleeping right, maintaining healthy habits wouldn't really change that much. A drop in the ocean. But you could not be more wrong. I stopped training for 3 weeks total. I stopped tracking my nutrition. I stopped worrying about all real health metrics. And this is what happened to me. I am now officially 1 month post-hair transplant, the vlog of which you can see in the previous video. I got it done in Bondi in Sydney instead of going to Turkey, which I believe was a huge upgrade in terms of the procedure. May not look like it right now. I'm going through what they call the ugly duckling phase. But I was medically forced into a 3-week period of complete inactivity. No gym, no cardio, not really any steps, no direct sunlight, wasn't even allowed to get my hair underwater because any moisture that was unpredicted or any sweat from my scalp would mess with the grafts. Now you could argue, oh well, you know, you can still go and train arms, just don't sweat. I just didn't want to take the risk. I've spent 10 grand on it. Why would I bother risking it for the sake of doing 4 bicep curls? But when I actually think about it, that is the longest in my entire life that I've ever had without any specific exercise. Because even when I was largely overweight, like you'll probably see on the screen about now, I was still playing football multiple times a week, still playing rugby multiple times a week. Even when I had my knee surgery, I would go in and train upper body. Even when I've had a broken wrist or a broken rib or a broken finger, I will go in and train the opposite joint or whatever I can at the time because I love to train. Whereas this time, it was forced inactivity. Nothing. Now what I want to do today is I want to show you through every single internal system what happens when you stop looking after yourself for 3 weeks straight. Definitely put that back on. The bad stuff doesn't all happen at once, and what the bad stuff actually is a lot different to what people think, because changes in your physique and how you look, they might not occur until 2, 3, potentially even as far away as 4 weeks in. It's all the other stuff. So I'm going to run you through in the first 24 hours, 72 hours, first week, second week, what different things and what different processes start to break down in the body. Because then you have the opportunity, if you ever go on holiday or you have a work trip away or something that takes you away from the gym, you know what you need to focus on based on. We're going to go through body composition, so fat mass, lean mass, energy, sleep, mood, hormones, skin, hair, nails, cognitive health, metabolism. We'll go through it all. But the weird thing is that from day 1 to 3, you'll actually feel better, especially if you are someone that has got a chalked training timeline. So I typically do cardio between 4 and 7 times a week. I do a blend of cycling, swimming, running. I usually do 4 or 5 strength workouts a week, and I do a lot of steps. So I'm creating inflammation all the time. I'm creating things that need to be recovered from all the time. And I'm creating a large psychological and central nervous system demand all the time from all this activity. So for days 1 to 3, I just had, first of all, a lot more free time, right? And a lot more availability to do other things with my day, whether that is work and editing YouTube videos, whether that is just chilling out and allowing my heart rate to calm down, or whether it's getting to the end of the Fortnite Battle Pass, I had more time to do it. Due to the higher amount of carbohydrates and sodium I was consuming from just eating worse foods in general, I actually looked a little bit fuller, and that helped get rid of some of that inflammation. So I looked a little bit better. Obviously, I'm not going to lose any size or strength in that time. I'm not going to gain any body fat in that time. So physically, internally, I felt great. Now, the one main change that I did notice was sleep. Now, high intensity exercise is the most potent sleep regulator that we have available to us. If we are used to having those peaks and troughs of cortisol and high stress throughout the day, then we have peaks and troughs of melatonin, our sleep hormone, throughout the day. So if we don't have that high intensity training, we're going to be high cortisol throughout the day because we're not being physically stimulated enough to get rid of that stress. So you're going to be sat in the bed at night, then you're going to be thinking about exactly what you did on Monday, December the 6th, 2004 at 7:38 p.m. What did you do? And let's say by some miracle, you do manage to get to sleep. The chances of you transitioning properly between that light sleep stage and the deep sleep, the deep wave restorative sleep that consolidates memory, helps repair and grow new muscle tissue, helps with brain cell regeneration. The chances of you getting there, very, very low. Yeah, you might be in bed for a similar amount of time, but getting half an hour of deep sleep in a night versus getting 2 hours of deep sleep in a night, 2 very different people the next day. How that affected me was pretty much straight away. By day 1, I am noticing that I need that outlet every single day, and if I don't have it, I am difficult to be around. The reason why that's such a big problem is because of the domino effect that is about to create. If you have a poor night's sleep, your body misinterprets that lack of sleep as a need for energy through external sources, right? What is the most easily accessible source of energy? We have calories. And for some reason, specifically, the absolute worst ones. The ultra-processed, hyper-colourful, super high in trans fats and added sugar calories. Hate how our body does that. Now, those shitty calories are ultimately going to spike your blood sugar, spike your insulin, and they are going to force you to enter this perpetually vicious cycle where, because you wake up underslept, you're raiding through the fridge trying to figure out like where the absolute worst calories are, but then because you're eating those goddamn awful calories, you're not able to sleep in the evening. So you can see how people quickly start to get into some bad habits. There is a reason why when so many people go on holiday for a week, sometimes they feel worse when they get back, despite having such a lovely, relaxing week. And that's not just because they've got blues for being back in the home country. Although if you're British, that does play a huge part. Most people never connect it to the fact that they haven't been doing any training. Exercise, as we know, releases endorphins, but it also releases dopamine, serotonin, and norepinephrine, right? Huge, potent neurotransmitters that control how motivated you feel, especially via the dopamine, how happy you feel in general. So when you take training out of the system, combined with obviously a surplus of shitty processed food and worse sleep, it's no surprise that we don't feel motivated to do anything when we get back. A lot of people, they'll take a week off so that they feel rejuvenated and ready to go back to work again, only to find that after that week off, the last thing that they want to go to work even less than they did before the holiday started. And a lot of that does come down to exercise. Now, being aware of that unproductivity, it makes it even worse because then you just have guilt surrounding it. But that's all to one side, right? That's what's going on internally. What about externally? So at this point, I am starting to see some pretty negative visual changes. I'm going to show my physique beforehand here and my physique after here. Not ideal. But even though we are now up to 2 weeks untrained, I'm not losing muscle mass yet. I'm losing glycogen within the muscle. I've lost a lot of water within the muscle cells themselves, so they're not popping, they're looking very flat, but I'm not losing muscle mass, especially given that my protein intake has been high right the way through this process. Probably the one variable that I have actually kept in check. Muscle protein synthesis does drop within the first week of inactivity, but actual muscle atrophy, i.e. losing muscle mass, doesn't occur until about 2 to 3 weeks in. And even then, that depends on your training age, your actual age, your training experience, whether you've been consuming protein the entire time, whether you've been even just a tiny bit active, doing little bits of cardio and steps here and there. What does accumulate, however, is body fat, especially if the diet has gone sideways. Your insulin resistance has gone up, your calorie expenditure has gone down, you are burning less calories throughout the day now. What's weird though is that I was 92 kilos on the nose day 1, and day 21 I was also 92 kilos on the nose, but my body looked drastically different. But it's not just my physique. I was getting puberty level acne again, and I was getting spots everywhere. You can still fucking see a couple of them now. I'd introduced free radicals to my diet via the high sugar and high processed foods, the lack of like actual hydration and nutrition, and a lack of exercise. It created oxidative stress, inflammation, and as a result, I just had this oily breakout, which is grim. And here's where shit really hits the fan, because not only do we have all the compounding effects of everything I've already mentioned, hormonally, natural test doesn't drop after a period of inactivity until about the sort of 6 to 8 weeks mark, but the byproduct and secondary effect of increased fat mass, poor sleep, higher cortisol, shit diet, will cause that natural testosterone range to plummet in a way shorter period of time. So by the 3 week mark, you'll have already started experiencing low libido, low mood, low energy, just from all the other factors.
It's at this point you also see your VO2 max take a bit of a deep dive, heart rate variability will also go down, and just overall your feeling of fitness, how knackered you are walking up the stairs, how knackered you are walking up a slight hill, how knackered you are doing any form of exercise goes up massively, like you can see via the buckets of sweat I'm carrying on my skin right now.
And we start to reach a bit of a point of no return, because to get back into those good routines and those good habits after having 3 weeks or more off, it becomes so much harder to establish that routine again.
So to summarise, during this 3 week period, I gained some fat, I lost some muscle, my skin went to shit, my sleep went to shit, my ability to focus went down, the food that I was putting in my mouth got worse. It's quite undesirable, really. I would not recommend not doing any exercise or eating that shit for 3 weeks. Who'd have thought? But how do we reverse 3 weeks of doing absolutely nothing? Zilch.
It's actually quite simple. Reduce your expectations of what you're currently going to be capable of to 0. Presume that you're starting from scratch. When getting back into it, the intensity is the thing you want to modulate the most. So whether you're getting back into strength work, cardiovascular work, whether you're improving your nutrition habits, whether it's just a case of getting more steps in every day, you want to reduce the intensity of it down to the absolute ground. If you've been used to doing 3k steps, okay, try moving up to 5. If you're doing no strength training at all, try and add in 2 sessions per week, 1 upper, 1 lower. If you're used to doing absolutely no cardio whatsoever, try doing 1 minute on, 2 minutes off for 15 to 20 minutes in your selected cardio of choice, and slowly scale each thing up, monitoring fatigue as you go, making sure that you're not going to psychologically burn out, and making sure that you're physically recovering from everything that you're doing, alongside some better nutrition habits. Getting a coach helps to do all that as well, because they will hold you accountable to those intensities, make sure that you don't burn out too quick, and you should be back to seeing abs in no time.